Welcome to Anafram Market Perspectives.
Anafram Market Perspectives, Friday recap tariff truce, rate week, and big tech whiplash. Welcome back. In 5 minutes, I will wrap the week with the S&P 500 heat map, the Trump and Xi tariff truce, the rate and data scorecard with the correct sequence, a quick futures sweep, and our bonus charts for QQQ, Meta, and Amazon. S&P 500 weekly recap. Breadth was mixed. Chips led on strength from NVIDIA and Broadcom. Apple and Microsoft were higher. Google advanced while Meta slid after earnings. Financials were two-way, with large banks firmer and several insurers softer. Consumer defensives lagged, with Walmart and Costco lower. Autos stayed heavy and Tesla finished down. Takeaway. Leadership narrowed around semiconductors and select megacaps while communication services split between Google up and Meta down. Trump tariffs. The update that moved sentiment: the United States and China agreed to a one-year truce after a 90-minute meeting between President Trump and President Xi. Key points. Overall tariffs on China stepped down to roughly 47% from 57%. Fentanyl-related goods fall to 10% from 20%. Both sides pause port fees for 12 months. China says it will ease rare earth export controls for a year. Beijing also pledged larger purchases of United States energy and farm goods, including soybeans. The White House said chip access would be discussed directly between China and NVIDIA, but Blackwell accelerators were not on the table. Separately, contact with Canada warmed after recent tension, though the additional 10% tariff threat has not been formally withdrawn. Net red, the truce cools tail risk for chips, metals, and shippers, but legal challenges in Canada headlines keep a two-way tape. Rates and data, what actually printed with correct timing. Monday, Canada wholesale sales were flat month over month after minus 1.2. United States auctions showed solid demand, 2-year at 3.504% and 5-year at 3.625%. Atlanta Fed GDP now held at 3.9% for the third quarter. Tuesday, Japan. The Bank of Japan moved earlier in the week. The policy rate is now 0.50%, and guidance turned firmer. BOJ core CPI ran at 2.1% year over year. In the United States, home prices softened. The Case-Shiller 20-city index fell 0.6% on the month and rose 1.6% on the year. Consumer confidence ticked up to 94.6. API crude showed a larger draw near 4 million barrels. Wednesday, Bank of Canada cut 25 basis points to 2.25% and delivered a cautious outlook in its report and press conference. United States pending home sales were flat after a strong prior month. EIA inventories fell 6.858 million barrels, while Cushing rose 1.334 million. The Federal Reserve cut 25 basis points to 4.00% and emphasized data dependence into year-end. Thursday, Euro area growth surprised to the upside, 0.2 quarter-on-quarter and 1.3 year-on-year. Unemployment held at 6.3. Mexico GDP contracted 0.3 quarter-on-quarter and 0.2 year-on-year. The European Central Bank left rates unchanged, deposit at 2.00 and refi at 2.15. The Fed balance sheet printed $6,587 billion. Late session releases included Tokyo core CPI and China PMIs. The mix supports a soft landing narrative. North American central banks eased. The BOJ leaned firmer. Inflation did not re-accelerate. Futures and commodities sweep. Equity futures eased into the close. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq were lower on the day while the Nikkei outperformed. WTI hovered near $60 and Brent near $65. Natural gas firmed above $4. Gold moved toward $4,030 and silver hovered near $48. The 10-year note price was little changed. The dollar index edged higher. Bitcoin slipped toward 107,000 after the weekend pop. Bonus section, our watch list charts, ETF QQQ. On the 5-minute view, price stayed under the Ichimoku cloud through Thursday and into today. Lower highs and a negative MACD show soft momentum. First resistance is the cloud base near 628 to 630. Support sits near 626. Bounces toward the cloud look like risk management zones rather than chase levels. Meta. Meta beat on earnings per share and revenue, but fell more than 11% as guidance and spending cooled the reaction. Price remains below the cloud, with MACD flat after a deep trough. Support sits near 660 to 666. First resistance near 668 to 672. Respect the downtrend until the cloud is reclaimed and held. Amazon. Amazon beat on earnings and revenue, yet closed down more than 3% as margin and near-term cloud growth drew focus. The 5-minute chart shows a steady slide under the cloud with MACD negative. Support is 222 to 223. Resistance 224 to 225. The long-term story is constructive, but the near-term trend is down until the cloud is reclaimed. Game plan: keep a balanced stance into month-end. Hold quality growth in semis and cloud while keeping defensives for stability. Use the tariff truce to trim event premium without dropping risk controls. Traders can fade strength back to cloud resistance on QQQ and on post-earnings laggards until momentum turns. Investors can look for entries in Amazon on a cloud reclaim and in Meta after stabilization above former support. If this helped you make sense of a noisy week, subscribe and share it with a colleague. See you Monday for the pre-market setup and fresh levels.
Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe and share this with others. See you next time on Anafram Market Perspectives.